Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's October 27th, 2019. This is an update on the greenhouse and the reconstruction project that I've been doing in 2019 so far. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get the glazing material on the greenhouse. I've made some more progress since the last video that I posted, and that has to do with more material going up against the building that the greenhouse is attached to, and getting some more aluminum angle material installed to help support this glazing material that we've chosen. So what glazing material are we using? We're using Solexx, made by Adaptive Plastics. I believe they're in Europe. And Adaptive Plastics made this Solexx, S-O-L-E-X-X, twin wall polyethylene. And as opposed to the twin wall and triple wall polycarbonate, that's those sheets of polycarbonate you've seen in many greenhouse structures. They both last about the same period of time. I think both polycarbonate and the Solexx are warranted for about 10 years. This material can either come in pre-cut sheets or it can come in big rolls, where the polycarbonate comes in sheets, and either you have to put sheets together to cover the span of an area that you're covering, or it comes in very long sheets that are pre-cut for the appropriate length. And shipping costs certainly have a lot to do with the very long sheets that you would get. Where the Solexx, since it can come in 300 or 400 foot long rolls, I thought it was a better shipping deal. I purchased this material through the Greenhouse Megastore. They did have a discount going on at the time. If you watch at different times of the year, you'll see some of their materials go on sale. So I caught this at a good time. This polyethylene material is supposedly very strong for heavy snow loads, as long as you have the appropriate supported structure underneath it and don't exceed the spanning engineering design for this material. And this is a twin wall similar to the twin wall polycarbonate. Now it comes in 3.5 inches thickness or 5 millimeters thickness. I went with the 5 millimeters thickness. Similar to polycarbonate, this has the ability to diffuse light. So with the glass, we potentially get burned areas on some of the leaves as a result of the direct light, and some areas would not. Some leaves may not actually get appropriate light exposure. With polycarbonate and Solexx, we're going to get diffusion of the light, and that's going to work better. This Solexx has a little bit higher R value, so in our very cloud-covered environment, I really wanted a higher R value, so I went with a 5 millimeter twin wall Solexx over the polycarbonate. And the price was reasonable. Now, one of the challenges is, as a single person installing this, I'm planning every step of the way throughout the whole process, and so I've already cut the sheets that'll end up going up next year. I wish I had known that time would run out for me, and I did have some problems. The shipper ended up doing some damage to the outer wraps of both rolls, and I contacted the Greenhouse Megastore. They sent out replacement. I got another roll of 48 feet as opposed to 300 foot. So you really have to examine all the material very, very closely, because it wasn't easy to detect where the damage was on these rolls initially. There's actually penetrations through the outer rolls, so outer layers of the roll. So this, when it comes in a roll, this material has quite a memory, and especially when the temperatures aren't nice and warm. So one of the things I designed was I created about a 24-foot long table that's made out of 4 by 8 sheets of plywood with supports underneath it. so that I could first measure and cut each sheet. And what are the tools I used for doing this? Well, I used a 4-foot T-square, which is certainly used for like drywall installations and all, but 4 foot is only 48 inches. These rolls are 52¼ inches long. So I measure and use a T-square, try and get it as square as possible. This material has, it doesn't have irregular edges, but it isn't the same as using this up against a piece of plywood or a piece of drywall. Excuse me. So when this is put up against a piece of drywall or plywood, you can be fairly certain that this is at 90 degrees. And certainly with only 1 inch overlap, that's the ability for these 52¼ inch sheets. It's so important that the top edge and the bottom edge of these sheets end up being square to the building. So I ended up going about 1/4 inch to 3/8 of an inch, a little bit longer, because I didn't feel confident that these ends were absolutely square using this technique. But I would measure each piece. I'd use the T-square initially to go ahead and get my marks for where I wanted to set up. Then I use a good straight edge. This is a straight edge, one of my Festool straight edges that would secure the Solexx in the places where I put the marks so that I could do the cutting. The thing that's kind of important with this system is having some clamps that allow this straight edge to be absolutely still on the sheet. Again, it's a bit of a challenge because it's 52¼ inches wide as opposed to 48 inches, which you could use just about anything else. So with this straight edge being perfectly secured on the Solexx material, I just used a box cutter or a utility knife to go ahead and make my score through the Solexx material. I made 2 passes to make sure I got each one. They're all nice, clean cuts. And then the challenge was trying to get them all to leave from being curled up into a circle again. So as I went through the process, on the nice warm days, I'd have them outside and lay them on the lawn after all the condensation was gone, and put some weights on it to try and give it a new memory of being straight. That worked partially, but the temperature started dropping. So I ended up cutting all the sheets, getting them mounted on this table, and then using a great deal of weights, a few hundred pounds of steel channel tubing with boards. So I distributed the weight with sheets of plywood on the surface of these and put the steel plates down, steel square tubing down on it, several hundred pounds to get everything nice and flat. And then I used, at the ends it still would push up all that metal, I used my F-clamps to hold all of the material down. And over a couple-week period, in less than nice warm temperatures, the Solexx turned out to be pretty darn flat. The next thing that needs to be done, I need to go ahead and fill each one of these. So the very edge of the ends of the Solexx material, like polycarbonate, has these channels that go all the way through the length of the material. And those could get condensation in there, small insects. Wasps could go ahead and start putting small little mud packs in here as well. And that would work its way down and weep back and forth and decrease light penetration, make it look worse. Mold could get in there as well. So the manufacturer recommends, just like with the polycarbonate, filling the ends of these with silicone. So that's the next thing I've got to do. I have to have some nice warm days in order to put the silicone in and get these all straightened out. And I haven't figured out just how to do that yet. I also have to figure out how I'm going to store these materials until next season. I've got a couple ideas, but haven't figured it all out yet. So I think what I'll do is I'll have to look and see if I have some GoPro images, but what should follow are some GoPro images. So how I dealt with getting this prepped and all. Started off with my front end loader. I put a set of forks on the front end loader, and then I took these large rolls, set them on their side, roll it onto the forks of the front end loader, lifted it up. I assembled one of my scaffolding units, put the platform at the very low part of the scaffolding unit, put a pipe through the center of the roll that was suspended onto the scaffolding unit. I made some braces so that the pipe wouldn't roll from side to side, because with 300 pounds going to one side of the scaffolding, it would have all tipped over. And that allowed me to have a structure where I could unroll the material by myself, bring it to the end, put appropriate weights on it to hold it in place, and then do my measurements, use a T-square, make the marks, put my cutting guide down so that I could use the box cutter and go through that whole process as well. And then I did the same thing with the second roll. So that's how we accomplished the whole process. There probably won't be another video this season. Right now I'm still trying to get produce out of the gardens, trying to get the gardens ready so that I can get the tarps down. It's next week I'm going to have to get the garlic and the shallots in the ground. And I still have a few more trees. I've transplanted about 25 trees so far. I still have a few more trees to get transplanted, and I'm working on some of the swale systems as well. So there'll be videos to come on those topics. So if you found this video of value, please give us a thumbs up. Be sure to ask any questions or share your experiences with these building materials or ways that you've accomplished using these glazing materials on your greenhouses. We can all learn from each other as well. And by all means, folks, have a great day. Bye-bye now.